Praise the Lord, everybody. I know people are starting to come in and join, but I hope you all are having an amazing evening, a blessed evening. And I'm excited to chat with you all tonight. So I'll give it a few more seconds and then I'll get going. Alrighty. I'll give it a few more seconds. But again, thank you all for joining the Arm of Light Christian Worship Center, led by our amazing Apostle Wayne Green and Prophetess Michelle Green. And I'm honored to be on the Bible study tonight. My name is Minister Eric Sellers. I grew up in the Free Gospel Church and then the Armor of Light Christian Worship Center. And I'm excited for tonight. I've always watched Apostle Wayne and other guests do Bible study. And I'm excited to have this opportunity this evening. So it should be a wonderful opportunity. And I'm thankful for this opportunity. All right, I will go ahead and get started. So, again, welcome to the Arm of Light Christian Worship Center Bible Study. Normally, we get in the Word with Apostle Wayne Green. Again, my name is Minister Eric Sellers, and thank you all for joining. I know people are starting to come in now, but tonight I would like to talk on the subject of delayed but not denied, and how it applies to the lives of believers. So, I was thinking about this, and I actually. Been thinking on this for several years. I put it in my notes tab, and I was able to talk about it briefly on our prayer line, Arm of Light Christian Worship Center's prayer line, which is every Tuesday at 7:30. And I want to say maybe it was last year, but this has been on my heart, so I thought it would be a great time to bring this up again and reflect on it and chat with all the saints tonight. So, as I mentioned again, delayed but not denied. So for me, I relate to this subject because there's been plenty of times in my life where there's something I wanted, or God maybe gave me a sign, or I had a vision or a dream, or a prophet or prophetess has told me something was going to happen, and I was curious. All right, well, when is this going to happen? Sometimes it could be immediately, sometimes it could be years later, 10 years, 15 years, it could be 10 months. But that's what stuck with me is you're delayed, but it's not denied. Whatever that is, whatever you're hoping for, whatever you're praying for, whatever you received a word for, it can still happen. It will just happen on God's timing. So it's not our time, but it's God's time. And sometimes we may not know His timing. Maybe we need to work harder. Maybe we need to grow spiritually, or maybe we need to grow mentally in order to receive the blessing that He said we would receive, or whatever was spoken over our life. Sometimes it's healing. Sometimes it's a financial blessing. Sometimes a new house, a new car, a spouse, a new situation, a new city, a new town, a book. It's different things that have been spoken over each and every one of our lives. And I think we need to just trust God and know that it will happen in due time. It may be delayed, but it's not denied. And this actually led me to Joseph's story. So tonight I'm going to talk about Joseph and how he had a dream deferred. So I'm actually going to be going to the word now, and it's Genesis 37:5. And I'm going to be reading from the Amplified Version. So if you all are following along, Genesis 37:5. And it says, Now Joseph dreamed a dream, but he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, Please listen to the details of this dream which I have dreamed. We, brothers, were were binding sheaves of grain stalks in the field, and lo, my sheaf suddenly got up and stood upright and remained standing. And behold, your sheaf stood all around my sheaf and bowed down in respect. His brothers said to him, Are you actually going to reign over us? Are you really going to rule and govern us as subjects? So they hated him even more for telling them about his dream and for the arrogant words. It continues on the 37th chapter in the ninth verse. But Joseph dreamed still another dream. He told it to his brothers as well. He said, See here, I have again dreamed a dream, and lo, this time I saw 11 stars, and the sun and the moon bowed down in respect to me. He told it to his father as well as his brothers. But his father rebuked him and said to him in disbelief, what is this meaning of this dream? The dream that you have dreamed. Shall I and your mother and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground in respect before you? And the 11th verse says, Joseph's brothers were envious and jealous of him, but his father kept the words of Joseph in mind, wondering about their meaning. So we're seeing here that Joseph had a dream from God. He had two dreams actually, and he went and told them to his brothers. He told them to his family members, and they were startled by it. And it just mentioned in the word that they were envious of what they had heard, and they were envious of him. And what I took away from this, and to apply it to my life, and I've seen this on social media in several quotes. I hear pastors and preachers say this often, but I think it is important to guard our dreams. Our dreams are not for everyone. So sometimes our dreams are to be shared. Sometimes our dreams are for our spouse. Sometimes they're for our close circle. But sometimes we have to keep our dreams to ourselves because they can just be interpreted the wrong way from others, or God placed that on our heart and it's not for us to share. And there's several reasons why. We don't know when that dream is going to happen. In Joseph's case, he doesn't know when this is going to happen, but he trusts that this was a dream from the Lord and that it will manifest and it will happen. But we also have to be worried because some people could get angry by the dream as his brothers did. They didn't like that they would have to bow down to their brother. And then you also have to worry. Some people may hate on your dream, and then they can hope that your dream doesn't happen. They can actually pray for your downfall, pray negativity, depending on who they serve, and it could be witchcraft. They can go against you. They can plot against you, and then they can speak negativity and death to your dream. So I think it's mindful that we guard our dreams. Again, this is not always, but I think God will speak to us and He will let us know: is this for the masses? Is this for just our spouse? Is this something we should keep to ourselves? And oftentimes I think we talk prematurely and we share our dreams with others, and then 5 years or 5 months may pass and they're like, well, I thought you dreamed this, you were expecting this to happen, what's going on? 5 years later, well, I had this dream. Well, what happened to your dream? What's going on? And I think we have to remember that we don't know God's timing. So sometimes it's better to hold on to that dream, continue to pray that it will manifest, continue to pray that we will receive the assistance and guidance that we need for this dream, but trust in God and not put our trust in others. Sometimes we have to keep it to ourselves. And I think it's important. He had good intentions. He was sharing his dream because his family members were involved, but it actually caused some turmoil by him sharing this dream. But nonetheless, he received this vision from God. But the timing of the fulfillment of this dream was unknown. It goes on that he ends up getting thrown into slavery. So I'll pick back up shortly, but he was thrown into a pit and he was sold into slavery. So it's sad that his brothers betrayed him, and he ended up being sold by the Ishmaelites. And I will go to the scripture now. So I'm going to Genesis 37:18 and 28. Again, I'm reading from the Amplified Version. Genesis 37:18, and it goes, the plot against Joseph. And when they saw him from a distance, even before he came close to them, they plotted to kill him. They said to one another, look, here comes the dreamer. See, they're upset that sometimes your family members, you share your dream and they have snarky comments about your dream, which is sad, but sometimes that's how it goes. But they said to one another, on the 19th verse, look, here comes the dreamer. Now then, come and let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits underground where the water storage was. Then we will say to our father, a wild animal killed and devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. Now Reuben, the eldest, heard this and rescued him from their hands and said, let us not take his life. Reuben said to them, do not shed blood, but instead throw him into the pit and is here in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him to kill him. He said this so that he could rescue him from them and return him safely to his father. Now, when Joseph reached his brothers and stripped him of his tunic, the distinctive multicolored tunic which he was wearing. Then they took him and threw him into the pit. Now the pit was empty, there was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat their meal, and when they looked up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, the east of Jordan, with their camels bearing resin, a perfume, and balm and myrrh, going on their way to carry cargo down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood, the murder? Come, let us instead sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay a hand on him, because he is our brother and our flesh." So his brothers listened and they agreed. Then, as the Midianite trader were passing by, the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and they sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And so they took Joseph captive into Egypt. So we're seeing here the consequences of sharing his dream to the wrong person. Even though these were his brothers, it's sad, and it goes to show sometimes you can't share your dreams, the things that God has spoken over your life with everybody, because they'll become envious. They'll try to sabotage you. Thank God that he had a brother who loved him, the eldest, and wanted to protect him and stop him from being killed. But that's something you have to be mindful of when you go out and you share your dreams, and they're great dreams that God have put in your heart or in your mind. There are going to be others who hate on that. They may not want you to become the CEO of a company or their manager. They may not want you to move ahead of them. They may not want you to have more sales at your job or become a director or whatever the case may be, and they may sabotage you. And I think we have to keep that in mind. I know in my personal life, I'm mindful of what I say now, and my grandmother, she always would say, not everyone who pats you on the back is your friend. And that goes in family, that goes in the corporate world as well. I've had colleagues who I was kind to, and because they could see something in your life, they could see that you're being elevated. They tried to sabotage me. They tried to stab me in my back. I don't think they have gone as far as to try to kill me. Thank goodness to God and His glory. But that is something you have to be mindful of. That when you're destined for greatness, you're going to have others who may try to stop your greatness. And sitting right here in this word, we saw Joseph and his brothers. They were envious. They wanted to kill him, and it took someone else. And I think God led those Israelites right there in order for him to be sold into slavery. So if it wasn't for his eldest brother stopping him from killing him and then having this caravan going to Egypt, he could have been killed. We don't know what could have happened. But again, thank goodness to God. But it just goes to warn you to guard your thoughts, guard your visions, guard your dreams, guard the things that God has spoken over your life, and be mindful that you have to say it to the right person. You don't want them to try to put a cursing on your life or on your dream. You don't want them to try to stop you or defeat you before your dream can manifest. And it's sad here that it was his own brothers, but I think we must be mindful that again, it could be your own brother, it could be your own sister, but God. I think that's the most important thing. It could have went wrong for Joseph, but God was there. God actually saved him, and we'll continue on this story. But again, a dream deferred. And I know Joseph was wondering, God, you gave me this dream of all this greatness, and now my brothers threw me in a pit. My brothers are trying to kill me, and now I'm being sold into slavery. So again, it's a dream deferred. You don't know when the dream that God has given you will manifest, but you must continue to trust in Him. So I'll continue on this story, but I think it's very important to just keep that in mind in our own lives. Just be mindful who we say things to. I was always told you don't want to reveal something too early or too soon, because number one, it telling it too early too soon can ruin it. I know for me, I currently work at ESPN, and when I was in the process of being hired to ESPN, I was so excited. This is before I signed the dotted line. I was so excited. And my wife, Nikita, had to tell me, or she wasn't my wife at the time, but she still gave me that great advice. She said, hey, you shouldn't tell everybody until it's signed, sealed, and delivered. While you're excited, if something goes wrong or you don't end up getting this job, you're running your mouth and you don't know who's speaking negatively, who's constantly saying, like, Lord, I hope this doesn't happen, or praying to their God or demons or whatever the case, hoping that it won't work. So you have to just trust in God. You have to be mindful and use discernment on who you're sharing your thoughts and ideas with. And I'm going to continue on um, with this story. So now I'm going to Genesis 39 and 1 through 20. And this is going to talk about Joseph in prison, and how he was falsely accused in prison. Again, this was all a part of his journey. So, yes, he received the vision. Yes, he received the dream, and he shared it with the wrong people. And I'm pretty sure he thought this would happen or manifest soon. But no, he had to go through a lot of trials and tribulations. And again, this was all a part of his journey. And I will move on now to the 39th chapter and the first verse. So it says, now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian officer of Pharaoh, the captain of the royal guard, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and even though a slave became successful and prosperous man, and he was in house of the master. He was in the house of the master, the Egyptian. Now his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to prosper in his hand. So Joseph pleased Potiphar and found favor in his sight, and he served him as his personal servant. So even in the midst of his turmoil, even in the midst of something that went wrong, we're still on this journey with the Lord. We're trusting in His plan, and something that turned horrible started to improve. So yes, his brothers turned their back on him. His brothers tried to kill him. His brothers sold him into slavery. But even though God is still with him, so when we have this, whether it's a vision, whether it's a prophecy, whether it's a dream, we have to trust God's plan. We have to trust in Him as we go along our journey and know that it will all work out for our good, or we will eventually get to what He called for us to be. We just have to go through the middle part. We don't know what this journey is going to take, what it's going to entail. It's going to have its ups and downs. And in Joseph's case, right there, he had his downs, literally in a pit, and now he has his ups where he was in slavery, but he's continuing to move forward. So again, as I go back to the word, I'm at Genesis 39 and 4. So Joseph pleased Potiphar and found favor in his sight, and he served him as his personal servant. He made Joseph overseer of his house, and he put all that he owned in Joseph's charge. It happened from the time that he made Joseph overseer in his house and put him in charge over that he owned, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house because of Joseph. So the Lord's blessing was on everything that Potiphar owned, in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left all that he owned in Joseph's charge. And with Joseph there, he did not need to pay attention to anything except the food he ate. Sometimes when you're blessed, it'll bless those around you. So I know I've seen it plenty of times where I will give favor to someone. It could be a $20 that I have in my pocket. It could be a meal. It could be just showing love or giving encouragement, and then God blesses me for doing that. So I think there's something deep in that. That when God favors someone and we show them favor, we will get blessed in return. So I think Potiphar shows this exactly. He saw that Joseph was blessed and God was continuing to bless him, and he gave Joseph favor. Even though he was a slave, he continued to bless Joseph, and in return, he was blessed. And I think as Christians, we all should keep that in mind. Let's look out for one another. Let's look out for our brother, for our sister, out of the kindness of our heart, not looking for anything, but when we do, we will be blessed in return. I think we need to have a good heart, a sound mind, and treat each other with love. And when we put love out in the atmosphere, when we show love to our loved ones, we show love to our colleagues, we show love to complete strangers, God smiles on us and He blesses us. And right here, Potiphar showed love to a slave and gave him favor. And in return, it says it right here, everything that Potiphar had was blessed. He didn't have to worry about anything. As I continue on, now Joseph was handsome and attractive in form and appearance. Now the seventh verse. Then after time, his master's wife looked at Joseph with desire, and she said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, With me in the house, my master does not concern himself with anything. He has put everything that he owns in my charge. He is not greater in his house than I am, nor has he kept anything from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do this great evil and a sin against God and your husband? And so it was that she spoke to Joseph persistently, day after day, but he did not listen to her plea. He did not lie beside her and be with her. Then it happened one day that Joseph went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the men of the household was there in the house. She caught Joseph in his outer robe, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his robe in her hand and ran and got outside the house. When she saw that he had left his robe in her hand and had ran outside, she called to the men in of her household, and they said to them, "Look at this! Your master has brought a Hebrew into the household to mock and insult us. He came to me to lie with me, and I screamed." I'm going to pause right here. Again, we don't, it's a dream deferred. We have the ups and downs. I think Joseph's story shows that. He goes into a pit, and now he's the head of a house, and now he's being lied to. And sometimes we try to do our best to do good. And even though we may keep honor and do right, there's going to be unhonorable people. There's going to be liars. There are going to be demons. There are going to be people who are possessed. There are going to be just negative people in this world that are going to try to bring us down, try to destroy our name, try to destroy what we're after. And it's sad that Joseph had to endure all of this. Again, especially after what he has been through, he's gone through a lot with his family turning on him, and then he's seeing God's favor, and now it's about to be stripped away all because of a lie. But I think we have to remember that no journey is a straight path. You have your ups, your downs, you're gonna have your hills and your valleys. And I know in my life, sometimes I go through a period of overflow, and then sometimes I go through a drought. But I know that God is in control. And Joseph continued to keep his faith, and he trusted God's plan. It says in Proverbs, "Lean not to your own understandings, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your steps." And sometimes those steps may not be as smooth as we would like. They may not be as easy of a path as we may like, but we have to continue to trust God. And I also like this because I know for me, I mentioned sometimes you deal with the haters, you deal with the naysayers. I've dealt with that in multiple jobs where people will lie on you, people will try to bring you down. They see that you're destined for greatness. They see the good in you. They see your positive outlook on life, or they see that God's hand is on you, and now they're doing what they can to destroy you. And we have to continue to trust in God, and we have to also know that sometimes God is going to allow our haters and our naysayers to succeed. So right here we see, I'm just going to call her a hater. She wanted him, but then after he denied her, she became a hater. She became a liar. But we're going to deal with that. You have to just continue to trust God and know that it'll all work out. I'll speak on something I've dealt with in my life at one of my companies. I've had multiple times people lied on me, and one of them I'll share. I had someone who was also in my role at one point, and I believe they looked at me as a threat. So when the CEO of the company or founder of the company showed me favor and was treating me kindly, they looked at it as disrespect, or they saw me as a threat. Who does he think he is? They went to my boss and lied to my boss, and they tried to destroy my name within the company. They tried to poison my name, and it almost succeeded. I almost was let go from my job because of a colleague who was lying on me, saying negative things. He doesn't know how to do his job correctly. I did this job. I know he's doing this wrong. He's doing that wrong. But again, but God. And in my situation, it worked out that everything was revealed, and my manager, she was a God-fearing woman. She has a I have a great relationship with her to this day, and thank God that he revealed everything to her. She called me in her office one day and she said, I just want to apologize to you. She didn't mention her name, but we both knew who she was talking about. But somebody was lying on you, and they were poisoning your name with others, and they were trying to bring you down. And I feel bad that I was listening to it and not realizing that it was a ploy. And God showed me favor. I received the hours that I wanted. So my boss took away the hours from that person who was lying on me and gave me the ideal schedule. Not only that, but because that person was lying, my boss started to pay close attention to that young lady. And it was revealed that not only was she lying on me, I was covering for her. So even when she was lying on me, I didn't stoop low. As Michelle Obama says, when they go low, you go high. I continued to cover for her wrongdoing, and I didn't snitch on her. But my boss started looking. Again, God was in control. My boss started looking, and once the lies were revealed, she saw other lies, and that person ended up being let go. So it went from me almost being let go to the person who was trying to have me persecuted and fired. They ended up receiving what they dished out. But it all goes back to God. I'm thankful for my former boss. I'm thankful that she was a God-fearing woman. I'm thankful that God revealed everything to her. And Joseph, and some of us have all gone through this, where someone is lying on us, someone is trying to bring us down, someone is trying to destroy our name, destroy our reputation, and people may believe it. Sadly, in this world, sometimes you see lawsuits where everyone believes the victim, and it turns out that that person was lying. And now it's too late. The damage has been done. People lose their job. People, family members turn their back on them. A lot of things happen just to reveal that it was all a lie and it was untrue. And sadly, Joseph is going through that right now. And I know in each everyone's personal journey, we may have experienced that where a family member, a loved one, a colleague, someone on the street lied to us. Sometimes the cops may have, gave you a ticket for something you weren't doing. Sometimes your wife may have yelled at you and accused you of something that you didn't do. Your husband may have accused you of something you didn't do. And I want to be playful now, but you have to continue to trust in God and trust His plan. Everything will be revealed in due time, and it's all a part of your journey. Again, we have our ups and we have our downs in our journey. All right, I'm going to continue and go back to the word. So again, I'm in Genesis 39, and now I'm going to the 15th verse. This is after she lied on him. She called them into the house and said that he was lying, or he tried to sleep with her. So it goes on. When he heard me screaming, he left his robe with me and ran outside. This is the wife lying on Joseph. So she left Joseph's outer robe beside her until his master came home. Then she told her husband the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you brought among us came to me to mock and insult me. Then, as soon as I raised my voice, he screamed, he left his robe, and he ran outside." Sadly, Joseph was in prison, and it goes on the 19th verse. And when Joseph's master heard the words of his wife, saying, "This is the way your servant treated me," his anger burned. So Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined. So he was there in the prison. So sadly, sometimes, as I mentioned, these lies actually may be believed. Sometimes the things that are spoken over you, or the lies and the things that people put on your name or on your reputation, are believed, and they can be successful. As we see here, Joseph was put in prison. It really bothers me when I hear of cases where a victim or someone fakes as if they're a victim and they have someone thrown in jail just for us to find out, sometimes a month, sometimes years. Sometimes people are wrongly convicted, and it takes several years for them to get their freedom. And in Joseph's case, he's going to have to go to jail. Eventually, he gets his freedom, but we have to continue to trust God through the rough times, through the tough times, especially when you don't do anything wrong. When you are wrong, and if Joseph would have gave into that temptation, then he could probably understand what was happening. But because he stayed honorable, and for that to still happen to him, I know he was very upset. And sometimes when we're in certain situations where we're lied on, or things may not be going our way, we could be in a storm where everything is going wrong. We have to trust God. Sometimes what will help us is if we focus on the good, focus on how we had abundance last year. If this is your rough year or this is your rough month, well, last month I had more than enough. Or I remember this time of abundance. I can't forget that. When you're going through your mess, you can't forget how you were also blessed. I like how that rhymes. When you're going through your mess, remember when you're blessed. But that's something you have to keep in mind. And sometimes, as I stated, we're going to have to go through some tough moments, but we have to continue to trust God through and through. And I'll again bring this back to me. I've had times of or points in my life where everything is going well, and then I've had times where several things go wrong. It could be the car went, now the car light is on, and then you get a ticket, and then this happens, or it could be something in your house, the sink isn't working, and now the dishwasher goes down. But I think we have to just trust God, and we can't let whatever we're going through overwhelm us. It's kind of funny, but right now my air fryer just went down, and I rely on the air fryer a lot for cooking, but I'm not going to be upset. I'm like, oh my gosh, my air fryer. But something small, sometimes it could be your car. Your car goes down. You have to catch public transportation or share a vehicle, but trust God, it will all work out. It's all a part of our journey. And I think we just have to pray. Sometimes you need your encouragement from your loved ones. Sometimes you need to put on the right music. And then just to bring us back to the overall message, sometimes God will give us a vision or a dream. Sometimes it can be materialistic. Hey, you're going to have a mansion someday. When you're in your apartment, you may be upset, like, God, I've been in this apartment for 5 years. One more year, you might hit the lottery, you might get the right job, you might meet the right person and have your mansion. But when you're going through your journey, trust in God, trust that whatever He told you, it will come to you in due time. Um, right here, Joseph, he's going through a lot. He was falsely accused. Well, now we're going to get to another part. So again, ups and downs in the pit. Now he's overseer of someone's house, and now he's lied on, and now he's in prison. But so as all of our stories go, we have the ups and downs. But as it was just said, it's a testing of our faith. So yes, our faith will be tested. We have to continue to trust in God. Sometimes our faith will get tested. Sometimes by us going through these rough times, it'll make us prepared for the blessings that are on the other side. I actually saw a quote earlier, and I'm going off topic, but I saw this quote, so I'm going to pull it up right now. I thought it was a great quote. I'll see if I can quickly grab it. But essentially, it was saying that some of these things are meant for you to go through in order to make you prepared for your blessing. So I'll see. Actually, I found it. It says everyone wants to skip the struggle, not knowing that that's where the character is built. So sometimes these struggles build our character. When our faith is tested, it makes us stronger believers. It makes us gives us a stronger walk with the Lord. But a lot of times we want to skip these rough times. We want to skip these struggles. But this is a part of God's plan in order to build us up, to build our character. So it just I saw that earlier, and I feel like it goes right into this. I want to continue to talk about Joseph and what he went through. So again, his dream is deferred. We don't know when these dreams are going to manifest. We don't know when God is going to bless us and our dream is going to come true. Our dreams or what we're praying for. Sometimes it's a dream deferred. Sometimes it's a blessing deferred. Sometimes it's a prophecy deferred. We have different things spoken over our lives, and you have to trust that this is God's doing. This is God using this person, using this vision, using this dream to talk to us, and we have to keep our faith as we go along. And then when we finally have that dream and it's manifested, when our dreams come true, when our blessings come to us, we have to share our testimony with others because it's encouraging. And that's what we have the Bible, because the Bible has these amazing stories. But sometimes hearing what your brother or sister went through can encourage you as you're going through your journey, as you are being lied on, as you are going through your ups and downs. Hearing the testimony of others can help you push through, help you continue to keep the faith and trust in God. So I think it's also the Bible. It can be spiritual music, it can be our spiritual parents, but testimonies are very important. because it offers that encouragement. It allows us to keep going. And I always appreciate when I hear testimonies, whether it's on the Bible study or on our prayer line on Tuesdays, whether it's in church, sometimes even on social media, people will share their testimony, and I'm encouraged by it. And it's always beautiful to see. So when we do have our dreams answered, when we have our prayers answered, let's not forget to share our testimony of how God brought us through, how we had to go through a lot of things, a lot of turmoil, how our faith was tested. But in the end, God made it happen. It was all part of God's plan. It may have been a dream deferred, but it manifested in due time, at the right time, at its perfect time. I'm gonna get back to the word. Excuse me. So I just finished reading Genesis 39, 1 through 20. So now Joseph starts to interpret dreams. Um, and he ends up interpreting a dream for Pharaoh's servant while in prison. So I'm going to go to that right now. That's Genesis 40. And again, I'm reading from the Amplified Version. All right. So Joseph interprets a dream. Now, sometime later, the cupbearer, butler of the baker for the king of Egypt, offended their lord, Egypt's king. Pharaoh was extremely angry with two of his officials, the chief cupbearers and the chief of the bakers. He put them in confinement in the house of the captain of the guard. And it was the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard put Joseph in charge of them, and he served them, and they continued to be in custody for some time. Then the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt who were confined in prison, both dreamed and a dream in their same night. Each man with his own significant dream, each dream with his own personal interpretation. When Joseph came and looked at them, I'm sorry, sixth verse. When Joseph came to them in the morning and looked at them, he saw that they were sad and depressed. So he asked the Pharaoh's officials who were in confinement with him in his master's house, "Why do you look so down and downhearted today?" And they said to him, "We have each dreamed distant dreams, and there is no one to interpret them." So Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretations belong to God? Please tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told his dreams to Joseph and said to him, "In my dream, there was a grapevine in front of me, and on the vine were three branches. Then, as soon as it budded, it blossomed, burst open, and in clusters produced ripe grapes in rapid succession. Now, Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup. Then I placed the cup into Pharaoh's hand." Then Joseph said to him, "This interpretation of it, the three branches represent 3 days. Within 3 more days, Pharaoh will lift up his hand, present you in public, and restore you to your position. And you will again put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you did when you were his cupbearer." So even while he was in prison, even when he's going through this turmoil, God still put him in position to be a blessing to someone else. But also, we don't know what God is doing behind the scenes. It took several actions. Two officials from Pharaoh ended up having bad favor with him, being put in jail. They end up being put in the same jail as Joseph. Had a dream. He was there and saw them. He spoke to them, and then boom, he was able to interpret their dream. By him doing that, they eventually will go and they would tell Pharaoh about the fact that he was able to interpret their dreams. But again, while we're going through the different things and the rough times and the rough patches in our journey that may not be prosperous, or we're in a drought, we don't know all the things that are happening behind us, all the pieces that God is maneuvering and putting and placing behind the scenes. Sometimes you can just walk out after a tough week or a tough month, and you meet just that person you need to meet that can get you a job. You can meet that person that can bless you. And I'm just going to share some random things, but I feel like these random things all were orchestrated by God. One of them, I shared this testimony several times, but when I have the time, I will sit down, I will calculate how much I made. And then once I calculate how much I made, I'll make sure that I will effectively give my tithes. So I did that. I calculated my paycheck. I brought up the calculator and I made sure that I tithe what I was supposed to give, my 10%. I had a bill that was due. My wife and I, we were on a trip and we were driving. And I remember sitting at a light out of state and looking just out the window, and I see something blowing. And I look over and I'm like, that looks like money. Could it be fake money? Who knows? But I look a little closer. I'm like, oh, that's money. We were at a red light. I opened the door, went and quickly grabbed that money that I saw laying there. It was $100 bill. I don't know where it came from, how it landed right where when I'm out here looking out the window. I could have been looking up, but I was looking down. I saw $100 bill land on the side of the road at a red light. I don't know what is happening behind the scenes. God could have had someone who was extremely blessed open their wallet. $100 flies out, blows in the wind, lands right where Eric Sellers can see it and grab it. And I had a bill that was due, and that bill, I needed $99 for that bill. And I was going to go to one of my other accounts later that day. I find the $100. I don't know all that went into that $100 being there laid for me. Someone could have robbed the bank. The money goes blind. I'm just using my imagination, but God is behind the scenes orchestrating all of this, and He made it possible for me for the light. The light could have been green. I could have drove right past that $100. No, the light turned red. Whoever had that money lost that money. I'm assuming they may have not needed it, and it was placed right there on the side of the road for me to grab it. God is doing that for all of us. We have, and I'm sure everyone can share testimonies where everything just aligned. And it wasn't everything aligning. God aligned everything for our favor. Everything was put into place behind the scenes by our creator, by our maker, for our good. So in this, when we have these dreams, when we are trusting in God, He is behind the scenes orchestrating all of this. We just have to continue to keep the faith, trust in Him, and know that He will work everything out. I'm going to speed this up because we're now at 8:15. But again, talking on Joseph and how he had a dream. His brothers hated on his dream. He sold his dream to the wrong people. They hated on him. They tried to kill him. They sold him to slavery. He ended up getting favor. His master's wife wanted to sleep with him. Didn't work out. She lied on him. Now he's back in prison. And now God has put two people from Pharaoh's inner circle in prison, and he was able to interpret their dream. So God's orchestrating it all. The ups and downs is all part of the plan that God has for our life. And I love this story of Joseph because it's not just a gradual increase. You make it to the top. You're happy. You love your family. They lie on you. Boom, you're in a pit. You work your way out of slavery, and now you may be enslaved, but now you have favor. Someone's wife lies on you. Boom, in prison. And it's a series of ups and downs. And that's how all of our stories go. Some people may be extremely blessed. Some of the billionaires, their life may have went like this, but even then they'll say you still have the ups and downs, the valleys and the peaks. But I want to get to the end of this and how Joseph trusted God and he was able to fulfill his dream. So um, I'm going to go to Genesis in the 45th chapter. So as I mentioned, Joseph was able to interpret the dream of some of Pharaoh's inner circle while he was in jail. He described what ended up happening in the dreams, and I'll quickly talk about how Joseph was able to rise in power because of this. So I'll actually start with Genesis 41 and 39. So I'm reading from the Amplified Version, Genesis 41, and I'm going to go to the 39th verse. Please bear with me. All right. So then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has shown you all this, actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to Genesis 41 and 38. So Pharaoh said to his servants, can we find a man like this, a man equal to Joseph, in whom is divine, who is the divine spirit of God? Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since your God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and clear-headed and wise as you are. You shall have charge over my house, and all my people shall be governed according to your word, and pay respect to you with reverence, submission, and obedience. Only in the matters of the throne will I be greater than you in Egypt. So, I'll continue with the 41st verse. It says, Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, See, I have set you in charge over the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took off his regent ring from his hand, and he put it on Joseph's hand, and dressed him in official vestments of fine linen, and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in his second chariot, and runners proclaimed before him, Attention, bow the knee. And he set him over the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said to Joseph, Though I am Pharaoh, yet without your permission shall no man raise his hand to do anything or set his foot to go anywhere in all the land of Egypt. All the classes of people shall submit to your authority. Then Pharaoh named Joseph, and he gave him Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of the holy Egypt, as his wife. And Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt to inspect and govern it. So again, we saw the ups and downs, and then his dream is starting to manifest now. His dream is starting to come to life. Now he was made the second most powerful man in Egypt. Pharaoh gave him favor. I'm pretty sure when he had his dream, he didn't know that he would have to go through all that crap in order to make it to the second most powerful man in Egypt, nor could he envision that. And sometimes in our own dreams, we may not realize that how much greatness God has for us. We have these thoughts, we have these hopes, we have these dreams, we have these visions. And then when it finally is manifested, we see that we had to go through all of that in order to get to where we are. It is a dream that may be deferred for some of us, but in due time, if we continue to trust God, it will happen. And as I close, I'm going to go to Genesis 45:1. And that way we can see Joseph reveal himself and show kindness to his brothers. So Genesis 45:1, read from the amplified verse or version. Then Joseph could not control himself any longer in front of those who attended him, and he called out, Have everyone leave me. So no man stood there when Joseph revealed himself to his brothers. Joseph wept out loud, and the Egyptians who had just left him heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers were speechless, for they were stunned and dismayed by the fact that they were in Joseph's presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, Please come closer to me. And they approached him. And he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. God be the glory. Now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me ahead of you to save your life and preserve our family. For the famine has been in this land, these has been in these lands for 2 years, and there are still 5 more years in which there will be no plowing and harvesting. God sent me to Egypt ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on this earth, and to keep you alive, to be a great escape. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to the Pharaoh and the Lord of all his household and ruler over the land of Egypt. And sometimes it's tough in the moment when someone betrays you, or you have the backstab, you have the family member that's negative, the coworker that's trying to backstab you. But even in my journey, I'm thankful for those haters. I'm thankful for the people who try to destroy me because it set me on my course. It set me on my path. I needed for them to do those wrong things to make me greater, to position me to a place. And while I'm not as great as Joseph, I think it's just putting this into our own life and being able to reflect on what he went through. We're going to go through some things. And even Joseph said to his brothers, he could have had his brothers killed. He could have been upset. He could have held on to that anger for the fact that they sold him to slavery. But no, he was calm headed. He knew that it was all God. It was all part of his plan. It was all part of God's plan to have him go into slavery, to have him lied on. God, behind the scenes, we don't know but we serve a great God, a mighty God. He has a grand scheme. God positioned all the pieces, all the situations, so that Joseph could be put in position to save his family. So I think it is important that we just trust God along this journey, know that it's all a part of his perfect will, it's all a part of his plan. And eventually we'll get to a point where if we may need a prayer, but we can forgive those who have done us wrong, because we needed that in order to get to where we are. Now, I definitely don't forget, but God is working on my forgiveness for those who have done me wrong, and I'm thankful to God, because it all worked out for my good, and we need to do the same. But as Joseph did that, he showed mercy to his family. He knew that God put him in this position. We have to know that he's doing the same for us. He's putting us in position to be worthy of the blessings he has for our life. And that is how I will close our Bible study this evening. And I'm going to close with a prayer. And I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you all for attending. I want to thank the Arm of Light Christian Worship Center and our apostle Wayne Green, our prophetess Michelle Green. And again, happy belated birthday to prophetess Michelle and Courtney Green. Send them some love if you haven't. But I'm thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful to chat with you all this evening. I'm thankful for everyone who tuned in. And now we're going to pray, and then I'm going to close out. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. Hope you have an amazing week. Hope you can learn something from Joseph's story. We're going to go through ups and downs, trials and tribulations, but it's all a part of the plan. Our dream that may be deferred will happen in due time. Keep the faith, trust in God. Be mindful of who you tell your dreams to, so they don't try to ruin it or speak negatively or judge because it didn't happen when you thought or they thought it would happen. Trust God. Dear Father, thank you for your love. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. Thank you for the dreams you've given us. Thank you for the testimonies that you've provided. Thank you for everything that you are doing in our lives. Thank you for everything you're doing behind the scenes to orchestrate and provide blessings to us. I pray that when times get rough, we will continue to keep the faith. We will trust in you, and we know that all of our blessings come from you. We know that you are a great God. You're a mighty God, and you're a provider. You make no mistakes. I pray that we will continue to trust in you, will, and I pray that you can direct our steps when times get hard. When times get rough, lift us up, carry us, guide us, put those connections in our lives, put those loved ones in our lives who can help us get through these tough times, Father. And when our faith is tested, I pray that we will continue to trust in you, Father. We'll continue to come out stronger as we continue to trust in you through these rough times. And thank you for all the blessings you've given us. Thank you for all the times our dreams were made true, were manifested. Thank you for all the blessings and the prophecies that came true, Father. And we thank you for all that are coming. We thank you for the blessings, the dreams, the prophecies that will come true in your due time. Give us strength for the journey. Give us strength for the rough times. Give us happiness and allow us to trust in you, Father. In Jesus' name, I pray. I love you. I praise you and I exalt you. You're a great God. You're a mighty God. And you're a worthy God. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Thank you very much.
Amen. Praise the Lord. What a wonderful word. Delayed but not denied. Thank you, Minister Eric, for that word. And if the word has been a blessing to you tonight, please give to the Armor Light Christian Worship Center. You're not paying for the word. You can the streaming information is on streaming at the bottom of the screen, but our giving information is Cash App, AOL CWC. PayPal and Givelify at aolcwc@gmail.com. And you can also visit our website, www.aolcwc.org. I have a few announcements tonight. Tomorrow morning, please get in the Word with our Command Our Morning Prayer. And we have that every Thursday at 6:15 a.m. with our intercessors. You don't have to be an intercessor to join us. So please join us as we command our morning. And then also on Saturday, we are having our men equipping men, EMS, praying men, and that's at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. Please join us men for that. And then on Sunday morning, we will have our Sunday morning worship service, which is at 5210 Off Road in Camp Springs, Maryland. Our speaker for Sunday will be Elder Leonard McAlpine. Please join us. And everyone have a good evening. We love you all, and God bless you. Amen.